So what is this flag? We've been seeing this flag a lot since Her Majesty has died. Now, when an American president dies, an American flag is draped over their coffin. When Winston Churchill and Margaret Thatcher died, they draped the Union Jack, the modern British flag, over their coffin. Even when someone like Charles de Gaulle died, they had a tricolor of France draped over his casket. But Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II, has had this flag. Now, I know this is some of us watching are saying, Tim, come on, we know what this flag is. But the reality is a lot of people don't know what it is. So this is the royal standard of the United Kingdom. Now, this has been the flag of the monarchs of England since George III of House Hanover. But it's rooted back far in English history. And that's what we'll be discussing in this video. Let's start with the first flag. That will be the 3 charging golden lions on the red banner. This is the House of Plantagenet's flag. Established by King Richard I in 1189, we call it Plantagenet today. It's actually the Avengian dynasty, but it is all the Plantagenet. That's what they are known as today. They would rule for 296 years, with the final king, ironically, being King Richard III in 1485. They would be followed by the House of Tudor, and this is where we will see the beginning of the 4 quadrants. Now, this looks different because the House of Tudor's founder, Henry VII, was actually raised and a little more towards his French side than that of the English. This will be a common theme in the history of England. In fact, the only, in quote, natives to the English Isles family to rule England was the Stuarts. But the House of Tudor adopted the Plantagenet lion with the Plantagenet flag with the 3 lions and put them in the top right and bottom left quadrants, and then had the French fleur-de-lis, the symbol of the monarchy of France, as established through the Plantagenet line. Henry's children would continue the Plantagenet line technically through their mother, Elizabeth of York, who was the last Plantagenet, technically, not Richard. So they would actually have claim to the throne of France. So in the 3 opposite quadrants would be the fleur-de-lis, and the 2 opposite quadrants would be the fleur-de-lis. But this would end in 1603 with the death of Elizabeth I. Now, she had died with no heir, so the closest relative was her cousin James VI of Scotland. So in 1603, the House of Tudor would end, but the House of Stuart would be established as the King of England. Now, what made this so important is it was the first time all 3 kingdoms of the British Isles were united. Ireland had been brought in by right of conquest by the Norman kings of England and had been inherited by the Plantagenets, Tudors, and now Stuarts. But being James was King of Scotland already, he now pulled Scotland into the combination. So James now made the standard the Tudors flag in the top left corner, and the bottom right corner, he had his home nation of Scotland's royal flag in the top right. And as an olive branch to the Irish, he placed the golden harp of Ireland in the bottom left with the blue field of the Kingdom of Ireland. Now, the harp and red lion would remain until modern day, but it would change if the monarch was in Scotland. The harp would be removed and the 2 red lions are on the flag instead. Now, the Stuarts would rule until Queen Anne in 1714, but something would happen in the middle of her reign in 1707. Now, it had been turbulent times since James I to Anne's reign. There had been civil war, abolishment of the monarchy, restoration of the monarchy, just to name a few. And through all of that, the question of Scotland had always concerned England. Had they rebelled and become an independent nation, they would now have an independent nation to their north that an enemy, wink wink France, could land a force to invade England from the north. So in 1707, the Kingdom of England, Scotland, and Ireland were abolished, and the Acts of Union of 1707, creating the United Kingdom of Great Britain. Now, Anne would be the last monarch of the Stuarts, being succeeded by, of all things, a German. The elector of the German state of Hanover, George, would become King George I of the Hanoverian dynasty. Now, they would keep their flag, but this time in the top right corner, they would put the fleur-de-lis. In the top left, a combination of the Plantagenet lion and the Scottish red lion. Bottom left would remain the Irish harp, and the bottom right was the flag of the Hanoverian dynasty. Now, this standard would remain this way until 1800, when a new Act of Union of 1801 did two things. It added Ireland to the new title of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, but it also formally added Ireland to the new official flag of England, which is the flag we see today, commonly known as the Union Jack. But now when it comes to the royal flag, it brings us just slightly closer to what we see today. In the top right corner was the Scottish royal flag with the red lion. In the bottom left corner, the Irish harp on the blue field. And then on the top left and bottom right, the three lions of the Plantagenets. But in the center was the emblem of the royal house of Hanover. The Hanover dynasty would end with the marriage of Queen Victoria of House Hanover to Prince Albert of House Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. It's under Queen Victoria in her 60-year reign as Queen of Great Britain and Ireland, but mostly the British Empire, the flag will become what it is today. The Plantagenet lions on the top left and bottom right of the flag, the Irish harp on the bottom left, and the Scottish red lion on the top right. But as I said before, when the monarch is in Scotland, the flag is the red lion on the top left and bottom right, and the Plantagenet lions on the top right and bottom left. Now, the flag is a standard, but is also an emblem of the monarchy. The flag used to rest with the standard bearers of a king or queen during wars, or when the royal families would travel the country. Today it serves the same function, minus the in battle function. It is symbolic of showing where the monarch is at any time. If the king is at Buckingham Palace, it flies over the palace. If he is not, a Union Jack flies over the palace. If he is at Windsor Castle, the royal standard is there. If he is not, it's a Union Jack. But recently we have seen it adorning the caskets of Her Majesty the Queen. We also saw the Plantagenet flag adorn the casket of King Richard III when his body was discovered and reburied in March of 2015. The Queen Mother had a flag with the royal flag along with her own family flag draped over her casket. This was a video I thought would interest people because even in my personal day I've had friends ask, what is that flag on the Queen's casket? It's not an English flag, and it's correct. It's a much more ancient one started by King Richard III, King Richard I, the Lionheart. Thanks for watching, friends. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, share, and comment. And if you're a new viewer, I invite you to please subscribe. I'm trying to hit 1,000 before the end of the month. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you in the next one.